SMU rolled up 710 yards of offense last week in a decisive win. Tonight, can the SFA defense keep one of the nation's best offenses in check? Or will the Mustangs celebrate a 3-0 start? SFA, SMU next. You're watching the American Conference on ESPN. Home opener for the Mustangs tonight at Ford Stadium and their final non-conference tune-up before American play begins next week. The Mustangs welcoming in the Lumberjacks from Stephen F. Austin. Hi everyone, David Salzman alongside Ladera McLean. Genuine excitement surrounding both these programs, although their progressions differ in SMU a little ahead of where SFA is at this point.
Yeah, you know, SMU, one of the most explosive offenses in the nation, and there's a youth movement for the Lumberjacks coming into the afternoon's game. So they're going to have to be on their game here today to battle with the Mustangs.
So last year, Shane Buechele, almost 4,000 yards passing, 36 total touchdowns. But Ladera, could he be even better this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's taken his game to the very next level. Not only does he has the physical attributes, the mental aspect of it is off the charts. He's able to make all the throws. He's a complete warrior. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs. But I guarantee you, he's an ultimate winner, and that's why this offense is off the charts.
You saw Trey Self last week in San Antonio, a promising youngster at quarterback.
Well, I just think he has great moxie. He has excellent poise in and out of the pocket, a superior athlete, and really the leader on this Lumberjacks team. He can make all those throws, and he will not quit in this offense. I look for him to continue to develop and grow and be a great quarterback in 2020.
Mustangs looking for back-to-back 3-0 starts for the first time in over 35 years. They'll have fans here at Ford Stadium today, and they're excited to see their ponies. Third straight FBS opponent to begin the year for SFA. SMU coming off a thrashing of North Texas last week. Heat index in the low 90s, but not a cloud in the sky. Beautiful late afternoon into the early evening here at University Park. Sonny Dykes, his third season as head coach at SMU. 65 points for his team last week, the most ever in a road game in SMU history. He just says we were so much cleaner, and he is looking for another clean performance from a very experienced offense and a good number of experience on both sides of the ball. Colby Carthel, what a great fit he is in Nacogdoches, coming off a national championship on the D2 level at 2017 at Texas A&M Commerce. You see the 0 wins. SFA did win 3 games last season. They had to vacate them. I think the future is bright in Nacogdoches for the Lumberjacks.
Well, I really agree with you, David. They've got some young players in some key spots. They've got some guys out this afternoon. But I tell you what, this is a team that will fight you to the very end. And they're going to have their hands full against a very good SMU Mustang team.
Yep, they only allowed 24 points in the losses to UTSA last week and UTEP in the season opener. Reggie Robertson Jr., we'll see quite a bit of him at wideout, and the nice return to begin this contest past the SMU 35. So Shane Buechele, second-year grad transfer from nearby Arlington, of course, started his career at Texas and had 30 touchdowns as a Longhorn. Mentioned on the open, 36 total touchdowns last season. And coming into game 3 of this year, Ladera, 711 passing yards, leads the nation.
Well, he has been outstanding this season, and really he knows what he's doing before the ball's even snapped. And when you're a quarterback and you get ahead of the game like that, the game seems to slow down. He has the weapons. He's got a plethora of receivers, and not to mention this offensive line starting to assert themselves and be dominant.
TJ McDaniel is one of 2 tailbacks we'll see plenty of today for the Mustangs. Sophomore from South Lake, Texas, gets just a yard. Ulysses Bentley, the 4th last week, 227 yards in the win over North Texas. We'll see quite a bit of him too.
You know, I really like what they're doing in the backfield. TJ McDaniel out of South Lake, Texas. You know, he's just one of these straight line guys. May make one cut, David. He can run by you and run over you, and then they've got a nice complement with Ulysses Bentley coming in with the change of pace.
Rasheed Rice unable to handle the football. An early 3rd and 9 coming for Buechele in the SMU offense.
You're not going to see that very often from Rasheed Rice. These receivers, one of the best receiving combination groups that you'll see across the country. So explosive.
Maybe a free play. looking for Rice again, and he comes back to make the grab and keeps the foot in bounds. Flag down, likely offsides on the Lumberjacks.
You know, how do you defend a back shoulder fade? And when the receiver and quarterback are in tune like this, it's almost unbelievably difficult to cover as a defensive back. And Willie Roberts going to have his hand full here this afternoon.
Gain of 19. It was offsides on SFA and, of course, declined. Daniel's second carry. Tripped up for short yardage. B.J. Thompson, the defensive end junior from England, Arkansas, on the stop.
Now these Lumberjacks, they've got some guys, you know, we talk about how young they are, but they've got some guys that can play. This defensive line going to have their toughest challenge of the season thus far, going up against a very experienced offensive line in the Mustangs. So they're going to have to go out there and play their best game here this evening.
Kylan Granson, tight end's first catch, and gets close to the first down marker. Rice transferred 9 touchdowns last season, and the leading tight end coming into this game for SMU. I mentioned SFA has given up 24 points a game. In fact, 24 points in both their losses to UTEP and UTSA. But the wildest stat, despite that, opponents coming in, converting almost 70% of their third downs. This is truly a bend but don't break defense. Mustangs just need 2. And it looks like McDaniel has it by just half a yard.
You know, it's almost like this offense with TJ McDaniel in the backfield, more of a powerful runner. And it's almost like they soften up the defense. And then once you get them soft, here comes Bentley the fourth into the game where he's shaking and moving. And he can really, at one moment's notice, he can go to the house on you.
Saw Bentley for a second, the redshirt freshman from Houston. 5 rushing touchdowns leading the nation. He'll take the catch from Buechele and look at his speed down the sideline and the cutback. Ulysses Bentley the fourth, first touch, 6 points, 33 yards. Regardless whether that is technically a rush, as this pass may be going behind Buechele. That's his 6th total touchdown of the year. It is called a rushing touchdown, and so he extends the nation's lead.
And when you have a running back like Bentley, the receivers downfield don't have to have great blocks, David. All they have to do is just get away for a split second, and the speedster can hit that seam, and there's nothing the defense can do. Got a block there.
Kick no good. Off the leg of the American Conference Co-Special Teams Player of the Week in Chris Nagar. So SMU settles for 6, took under 2.5 minutes. Ulysses Bentley, the fourth, highly touted out of the Houston area. His 2nd season in an SMU uniform. He has been rolling so far this year. A 63-yard drive to get this game started. Ulysses Bentley, the fourth, 33-yard touchdown. As mentioned, his 6th touchdown already this season, the best in the FBS.
He's fast. Just make no mistake about it. The kid can flat out fly, and it's almost unfair to where their skill position players can get out in open space, and it's a nightmare for opposing defenses.
It's Larry Jones the third from just shy of the 5. Squeezing through and brought down just shy of the 30. It's an SFA team. 2 losses to FBS opponents in UTEP and UTSA, but Trey Self coming in completing 65% of his throws.
Yeah, you know, he's been impressive. Yeah, you know, when you think about it, you know, Coach Carthel recruited him to go to, you know, Commerce, where he used to coach and trying to win a national championship. And now they've got him here at SFA, and I think he's done pretty well to learn the offense, to get things going. And he really showed me a lot last week against UTSA to fight to the very end.
This is Josh McGowan, the senior from McAllen, Texas, brought down for a short loss. He's starting in place of the injured Deleon Ward.
Well, you know, you look at this offense, you know, the loss of Deleon Ward, they lose that explosiveness in the running back, but you know, Joseph McGowan's a capable running back. He's more of a in-between the tackles type runner, but a very good receiving running back out of the backfield as well.
It's been a number of years, though, this SFA running attack. I mean, they've struggled. And coming into today, 78 yards on the ground per contest. Positive yards for McGowan, bringing up 3rd and 9.
Well, if there is one thing this defense does give up, they have given up some rushing yards in the first 2 contests of the year. You know, SMU's defense giving up 200.5 yards per contest so far this season. So if there is a silver lining or a game plan that you have in mind for the Lumberjacks, it's to keep the ball on the ground if you can, pick your spots in the passing game, try to keep this defense off balance.
Watch for number 19 in white, Xavier Gibson. He's the Lumberjacks' best wideout. He's one of 3 receivers on the top of your screen. 9 catches coming into this game. To the ground again. Nothing doing. 3 carries, 1 yard on the drive.
And watch Turner Cox here. He's one of these linebackers. They call him the Stang. And he's the first guy to meet the running back in the hole. And you saw a host of Mustangs there. You saw Elijah Chapman as well. And that's not a good sign there for the Lumberjacks, David, as Joseph McGowan on the turf.
Yeah, that's McGowan down, and just mentioned how Ward is out. McGowan's 2 backups are both redshirt freshmen with a combined 1 carry this season. And so McGowan is unable to return. Lumberjacks very short in the depth chart at tailback.
You know, they're just trying to find people that could, one, stay healthy, and just trying to find some answer to this running game. And that's good to see McGowan go off on his own power. But you know, a lot of times through the first game, some of the run responsibility actually was on Trey Self as the quarterback. So you don't want to get in a situation like that. You hope McGowan can come back, and you hope they can get something going in the running game.
Danny Gray back for the Mustangs, junior from here in Dallas. And Max Quick, sophomore from Lufkin, Texas, about a half hour south of SFA, averaging just under 40 yards a punt. Catch this deep snap from just ahead of his 15. 63-yard drive to begin the game for SMU, putting them on the board, but the PAT missed. Gray calls fair catch just ahead of his own 30. Punt of 39 yards.
Well, once again, the offense having pretty solid field position, David, once again, as if they didn't need it. So explosive this year.
So far, so good, and this is even before the opening touchdown of this game. 48 points a game, 6th in the nation. 627 yards a game, 3rd. Bottom of the graphic, 82 plays a game, 3rd in the nation. Sunny Dex's offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley, says, we want to have more plays a game. We want to be faster.
Yeah. You know, what jumps off to me is not only the passing yards and total offense per game, they run the ball. 271.5 yards rushing per game. That is outstanding. So difficult to defend.
They had 366 on the ground in the whipping of North Texas 1 week ago. TJ McDaniel gains close to 2.
You know, I had a chance to watch that game against North Texas, and a lot of these guys got in the open field against the Mean Green, and it looked like it was a Pee Wee team they were playing against. They would get in a seam, and they would just separate themselves so fast. And as an offensive unit, David, they were so far ahead of the Mean Green, and they just went to town, putting up 65 on the board.
Gray might have seen the defender in front of him, still upended, but unable to hang on to the ball. Middle linebacker Brevin Randall with the hit.
Yeah, Brevin Randall's a thumper. Watch Brevin Randall. That's his job, David. He's got to scan those crossers coming across the middle of the field. You'd like for him to stay a little bit higher, just for good sportsmanship. You don't want to hit hit players' legs. That was well defended there by the Lumberjacks.
SMU 2 for 2 on thirds on their opening drive. Grant in the catch. Gain of 11.
Well, there they are again, so precise in the route running.
Buechele with McDaniel and Bentley, part of those impact players, and we haven't called Reggie Robertson Jr.'s name yet at wideout. McDaniel, good gain on first down, his best carry of the game so far.
There's that power by McDaniel. You know, most running backs would have probably made the guy miss in the hole, but McDaniel with his power He has some speed too, decide to lower the shoulder.
Now going deep for Robertson. Able to hang on, it looks like no, incomplete. Robertson saying, I had the football.
Well, here's one of these pre-snap reads. You know you're going to get man coverage. That safety can't get over to the side fast enough, and the ball is perfectly placed. Couldn't see what happened on the way down. We got blocked out there, but everything that I see there looked like it probably should have been a catch. Here's probably a better angle. Little loose there. Does he recollect himself? No. I think it hits the ground. Great camera work, guys.
Willie Roberts on the coverage, sophomore from Fort Worth. Flag down, catch made. This is Rice. Sonny Dykes says no one's going to replace the 111 catches that James Prochet had last season, but Rice fits the mold close enough in terms of his style. Gained a 21 pending the penalty, but it will come back.
You know, he's a little bit faster than Prochet. He's a little bit quicker in and out of his cuts, but Prochet was a dynamic player because he could play all three, sometimes all four wide receiver positions. And so you look at Prochet as more of possession. I look at Rice as a home run hitter anytime he's able to catch that pass.
That would mean 2 home run hitters in this wideout core with, of course, Robertson the other.
Oh, yeah, that's very difficult for defenses as a defensive coordinator. What do you try to take what away? You really can't commit to one thing or the other. They run the ball so well, and you can't commit a safety to one side of the field.
Buechele hammered as he throws, some tugging, and a flag down. SFA continues to not be able to get off the field on thirds. Coming in, opponents converting 66% of third downs. And with this penalty, third down becomes first down for the men in blue.
Yeah, Bruce Harmon in coverage right there, David. And you know, I almost have to think these defensive backs have to live and die by pass interference. And what I mean by that, they have to be overly aggressive. They cannot give these guys any room.
Defense, number 33, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
I mean, you've got to battle these guys. I think that's the technique you got to play. I just think he got a little bit too much jersey there on that right hand, and it's the right call. But I think you have to live and die by being overly aggressive against this talented group of receivers.
Ball just shy of the Jack 40. This time, McDaniel swallowed up for no gain. R.J. Smith, one of the Lumberjacks there.
Yeah, Rayson Williams III, big number 93, one of the defensive ends coming inside this time, David. Makes it awfully tough in the middle, and you know, that's what you have to do. You've got to slow this offense down as much as you can on first down and get them a little bit off schedule so they're not ahead of the chains, and now they're a little bit more predictable in terms of second and long and third and long.
Fake to Bentley. Danny Gray in space with blocks in front of him. It's Austin Upshaw providing that last block, and Gray out of bounds around the Jack 20-yard line, gain of 16.
Well, good to see Danny Gray back in the game, and this is the play they scored on earlier with Bentley the fourth. It's just putting your guys in space and making the defense have to cover a lot of field.
Bentley's second touch, first one for a touchdown. This is first down yardage.
You almost have to hold your breath. Every time 26 touches the ball, he's got that home run hitter mentality and certainly the ability to do it.
Bentley again. Chased out of bounds. Nice job by Randall. Randall, sophomore from Marshall, Texas. You mentioned, LaDarren, just part of this young Lumberjack group, especially defensively. It's held their own against FBS opponents so far coming into tonight. You
know, it's just a team, David, that you better get your licks in on them now, because they're going to get a lot of maturity and they're going to go through a lot of growing pains this season. But at the same time, they're scrappy and they're tough and they will not quit. And that's always the recipe of building a good program.
Gray cutting it inside to the end zone. Touchdown. Had a 62-yard touchdown last week against North Texas. It's maybe not as spectacular, but just as effective. 2 drives, 2 scores for the Ponies.
It all counts the same, right? Again, this is just like stealing. They just create space with the wide receivers. The linemen get large splits, and they make these defensive backs and linebackers have to do so much running before they even make contact. But then again, it's just too much speed to overcome, and right just like that, they've gone up 2 scores.
Texas transfer Chris Nagar, the PAT. This SMU offense, as advertised, 65 points last week. On pace for that so far tonight here.
Well, David, what they get here, when they send the wide receiver in motion, when they don't see that linebacker go out with them, they've got them outflanked. And when you just have a great athlete like Gray in open space, it's almost like playing in open court in basketball. You just have lanes to go everywhere, and these guys can pick those lanes, and they can turn a little bitty gain into a big play there for a touchdown.
Mustangs now 14 of 15 in the red zone this season, 11 touchdowns. They were 8 for 8 in the red zone last week in their win over North Texas. 31-24 win over Texas State in their season opener. Lumberjacks will have it from their own 25, their first drive, 3 runs for just a yard, and we'll see now who comes out of tailback for SFA. Deleon Ward, who started last week, out of this game due to injury. Josh McGowan banged up last drive, and so for Colby Carthel's Jacks, Jaquarian Turner will come in, wearing number 24, the redshirt freshman from Garland, Texas, with just 1 carry so far in 2020. Whistle's blowing at the far side of the field, and they will reposition the football. The touchback going on the far side. Fans who didn't think hash marks were important.
Yeah, right.
Trey Self, junior from North Richland Hills, Texas, Butler Community College transfer. You see his numbers coming in. Threw for 285 in the loss to UTSA last week.
Hello.
Hammered and fumbling the football, Larry Jones III, but able to recover. It's a loss, though, of 1.
I'll tell you what, Chevin Calloway, he came up and made this play, David, like he was shot out of a cannon. And I don't know if you'll be able to hear this collision. Watch how fast 11 closes. Bang, right there, and just stuns the ball carrier right there, Larry Jones III. But Larry Jones III might have gotten the better of Calloway on that play there because he has to come out.
Jones 5'9", their best wideout, Xavier Gibson 5'9". Self with time, and that is Gibson. No, incomplete. First time that Self has tried to find a star wideout, sophomore from here in Dallas.
Well, defensive coordinator Kevin Kane for the Mustangs mixing up some of the looks for this offensive line, and you know, this time they only rushed 3, they dropped 8 in coverage, just trying to dare this young quarterback Trey Self to have patience to let the routes develop downfield, and he got a little antsy, wanted to jump it off, and that was a minimal gain. And here we are with the 3rd and 11, where you play right into the hands of the Mustangs' aggressive defense.
Here they come. Self sacked.
Yeah, there it is. When they get you in about a 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, you better hang on for dear life, because they're going to send the dogs, or I should say send the ponies in this case, and they're coming to get the quarterback.
Nelson Paul, the sophomore, his first sack of the year, 2nd in his career. Big Elijah Chapman was in on the play as well. 2-3 announced for Colby Carthel's offense. SMU has not allowed a point in the first quarter. Gave up quite a few second-half points last week in the win over North Texas. They have started off strong for the second straight week.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Yeah, they always start off pretty strong. 21-0 versus opponents this year in the first quarter. You're already spotting. You're already giving them, 3 scores in a game. It's just tough to come back when that offense gets to rolling.
Now Quick will catch this deep snap just in front of his goal line. Colby Carthel did tell us he was happy with his team's performance the first 2 weeks, knew this would be different, and that doesn't help. 2 more for SMU.
Wow, special teams are always so important. And the good football teams make it a priority. And this right here, I think the snap wasn't too bad, David. I just think a punter just mishandled it. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty decent snap. And then when you get in no man's like that, it's over.
He saw Kiki Burns come right at him. Then Kiki Burns got the block. And it's 15-0 SMU. Time it on the field. And Colby Carthel's Lumberjacks behind big early. Sonny Dykes' Ponies rolling early 15-0, and he tells us just how proud he is of his program to get to this point. 5 straight weeks now with no positive tests for COVID-19. That's over 1,600 tests. And he said, I told our players those results are going to be a window into every program in the nation. We've seen the postponements and cancellations all across college football, but SMU so far clean in their testing for well over a month now. Danny Gray, the nice return. As SMU gets the ball back after the safety, a return of 32, and they'll start this drive in Lumberjack territory.
Yeah, David, you know, they have it down to a science in terms of trying to manage these young men. You know, what do they do when they leave football? Well, we know what happens when they're there. You know, he mentioned coming in with their pants on. They don't even really go to the locker room. You look at Shane Buechele there and what he's done this season.
Well, he can definitely pass the 10,000 total yard mark for his career. Of course, those numbers include his 2 years at Texas. Holds the freshman record for passing yards at Texas, 29.58. TJ McDaniel, 6 carry, and his best one. Slipping tackles and down just shy of the red zone. 23 yards.
Well, this is the same offense he's grown up in ever since he was in junior high, and this is just the zone stretch play, and it's perfect for him. And he finds the lane, and he's able to cut back, and this offensive line so big and physical. Look at him, they just get the shoulder pads turned to the defensive line, and then he's able to pick and choose his lane and has that burst to get upfield.
Injured Lumberjack is Darian Williams, sophomore from Nacogdoches, of course, where SFA is located. Of course, hasn't gone well for Colby Carthel's team so far tonight, perhaps not unexpectedly. I think he's a great hire. Right? It's his second year with SFA. He's coming off a Division II national title at Texas A&M Commerce, and he has done well everywhere he's been. He's from West Texas. He's from Friona.
Oh, wow.
He's close to the New Mexico state line. Played at Angelo State, coached at Abilene Christian and West Texas A&M, and then moved to East Texas to Commerce, where he won a national title in his 5th season.
Well, it's all about recruiting, right? And you get to this level, and they've got another top 5 FCS recruiting class this year.
No one to throw to, and Buechele goes down for a loss.
Well, there you go. You got some good activity up front by the defensive line, but you know, David, credit to the back end of the Lumberjacks secondary to make Buechele hold on to the ball longer than he wanted to, and that's what this defense has to do. They've got to continue to fight and claw and just find a way to get it done.
143 total yards so far for the Mustangs. Buechele looks to throw. Dumps it off to Rice. Makes it 3rd and very manageable.
Yeah, we talk about Shane Buechele and his numbers. I found it remarkable. He's 2nd in the American Athletic Conference in passing yards per game, behind Dylan Gabriel, University of Central Florida quarterback, at 417 yards passing per game. I just figured Buechele at 355.5 had that locked up. It just shows you how explosive this conference is and the top play of their quarterbacks.
Another 3rd down conversion. Rice again, his 3rd catch. Buechele now 7 of 10 for 81 yards after the gain of 12.
Well, this defense is not really disguising their coverages. And, you know, when Shane Buechele gets up to the line of scrimmage, he's just seeing base coverage. He's identifying where the zone, if it's man, and he knows where to go pre-snap read.
Ulan Ali, the center, bobbed his head, and I believe that's why The play has been ruled dead and flags on the field.
False start, offense, number 64. 5-yard penalty, still third down. Please reset the game clock to 2 minutes, 43 seconds, 2:43.
Actually call it on Cameron Irvin, who backs up Ali at center, but playing left guard. Justin Osborne started at right guard for SMU, the Auburn transfer. Sonny Dykes very excited about just his depth on the offensive line overall. Danielson Ike now in at right guard for the Mustangs. Granson hauls it in. Touchdown. The junior from Austin, his second touchdown grab of the season.
Yeah, and they just continue to make it look easy. And Takai Lloyd is in perfect position to make this play. Watch this. It's just a quick out with the tight end, and Lloyd is there. He just can't make the play on Granson. Once again, the Ponies making it look easy. Very comfortable pocket back there for Buechele to find his targets.
Our second successful PAT, 22-0.
Yeah, here it is again. Quick read. The offensive line doesn't really have to do much pass pro there. And just a good route to use his body as kind of a shield there for Lloyd. Here it is here. 4 wide receivers set, the inside slot receivers, the tight end here. Just too much cushion there. And the ball gets there right on time to where Granson can make a guy miss.
Played well at Rice his first 2 seasons, second team All-American last year here in University Park, 9 touchdown grabs. He'll get as excited as anyone, we are told, after an offensive touchdown, and especially when he scores one. Now 11 touchdowns in an SMU uniform.
Now that's what they do, you know. And Sonny Dykes just getting guys in here to play sound football, you know, and they're building the program right. And these guys now have some depth. Look at that defensive chart. They've got 2, 3 deep, if you will, on that defensive front.
Touchback, and SFA will have it at the 25. That's something he told us, didn't he, when we asked Sonny Dykes, how can you be better in 2020? Because expectations are as high as they've been here in quite some time. You're coming off a 10-win campaign. How you can get better? And of course, an American Conference title would fit that description. And he said it all starts up front. He's happy with his offensive line depth, and he thinks the defensive line depth is coming around and could be a factor.
I think so. I think they're on the right track, and especially the style of defense that they play. I think they're going to get another recruiting class here going forward that likes to play this style up front.
Jeremiah Miller, first catch of the night, 6th of the season.
Yeah, that's a good pass by Trey Self. That's what this offense has to do. They've got to think in terms of attacking on first down, and you don't necessarily need to be passive aggressive and hand the ball off and give up and run. You've got to go on attack. You've got to keep this defense off balance. Now you're ahead of the chains. You've got 2nd and 1. The playbook tends to open up, and now you can either try to take a shot downfield.
SMU has Gary Wiley in at defensive end, listed as the 2nd string, but really that's just in name only. They will rotate these guys in and out quite often up front. First down of the night for the Lumberjacks, and that is Turner.
Yeah, I just think they missed an opportunity there. You're down 22-0. Yeah, you want to get the first down, obviously, but now you've got to think strategy-wise. You had a 2nd and 1. This defense is going to expect you to run. You do play action pass, get those safeties to bite just a little bit. You may have a chance to go over the top.
So I mentioned Gary Wiley, listed as the number 2 defensive end. Junior Aho, listed as the number 3 defensive tackle. Terrence Newman, listed as the number 3 nose tackle. Again, that's an example of the depth up front for the Ponies. Second nice run for Turner. This gain's about 4.
That's a nice run there on first down. Offensive line, they're pretty big guys too. They average just a little over 290 pounds, and you know they're good at moving and quick guard pulling. That time they do an inside power play to the left here and created a nice seam there for the running back.
Number of number 2s out there for SMU defensively. Brian Holloway at the back position at linebacker. Turner another carry. And this time the Mustangs hold up front. Maybe a yard, setting up 3rd and 5.
Yeah, it's just tough trying to make a living. And we're talking about the defensive front depth, and these guys getting after it. They play a 3-man down front. More times than not, they're going to play a multiple odd-looking front on the defensive line.
3rd straight game to start the year that SMU has not allowed a point in the first quarter. The home opener in University Park. SMU rolling. It all started with a 33-yard touchdown by Ulysses Bentley IV. Danny Gray added to the lead, and the SMU defense has done its part. $171 yards of total offense for SMU, rolling to a 22-0 lead, holding SFA to just 14 first quarter yards. Second quarter begins with the Lumberjacks at 3rd and 5. David Salzman, Ladera McLean with you from Ford Stadium in the heart of Dallas. Intercepted. Bounced right into the hands of Brandon Crossley.
Uh-oh, getting ready. Could be champagne confetti bottle time when they get back to the sideline. Well, this is just unfortunate, David, for Trey Self. I mean, he makes a fantastic read, and they sprint the quarterback out. Always a good thing when a quarterback's struggling in the pocket. I think he throws a pretty good ball low and away, and unfortunately Xavier Gibson can't handle it and tips it back, and Brandon Crossley picks it off. And here they go. Get that champagne confetti bottle ready. It's party time.
That's club takeaway. That's what they call it. After Brandon Crossley's first interception of his career.
The entire bench for excessive celebration. 15-yard penalty. First down.
I don't think that's because of club takeaway. The entire defense in the corner of Ford Stadium did what NFL teams do after touchdowns. They'll take the photo. They'll make sure the camera's in front of them. That's what the flag is for.
Oh, man. That's just way too much fun, but it's a good call by the official. You never want to show up the opponent.
Michelle on the offense back at work. TJ McDaniel's 7th carry of the night. I think we have a shot at why the penalty occurred. Here you go.
You got guys running down there, and these guys don't touch the football that much in practice. They're defensive guys, they don't have great hands, David. So anytime they can get, their hands on the ball, they're ready to party.
Daniel again. Set up 3rd and short. TJ McDaniel in the 3rd game of last season had not touched the football until that game. It was a win over Texas State, and he became the first Mustang ever with 150 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns in his debut. Sonny Dykes was planning to redshirt him, and after that performance realized, I have to keep number 25 on the field. It's behind Xavier Jones and Keeman Freeman, but McDaniel providing some solid carries throughout 2019. Squeezing through and brought down right around the first down marker. Looked initially like it could be a loss.
Yeah, that type of run right there is pretty remarkable, because this should have probably been a 2-3 yard loss, as LaRon Cox, big number 92, just had him dead to rights in the backfield. But that just shows you how gifted TJ McDaniel is to slither his way for a first down.
McDaniel 130 yards in the win over Texas State 2 weeks ago. Bentley was the star last week. And now Tyler Levine checks in, 220-pound sophomore from Cedar Park, Texas, in the backfield. Buechele in trouble and sacked, and that's Cox, senior from Everman, Texas, his first sack of the season.
Wow, this is a great scheme defensively. Scott Power kind of changed it up, and the pocket, the time is good, but he wanted to go across the middle of the field to Kylan Granson one more time, but there was a rover in the middle of the field that took that option away, and that allowed Cox to come in and get him a sack.
And he beat the Auburn transfer in Justin Osborne, who was in at right guard this possession.
Well, that's what you have to do. You got to make these guys make long conversions, move them way back to where they're 2nd and 16 or more.
Levine, a rare catch. Lumberjacks there to force 3rd and long. Levine's first catch of the year.
I had a chance to talk to Coach Carthel last week, David, and he said if we could just get to 3rd down, we can get to 3rd down, we kind of like our chances. And right now this is a very good chance here. You've got 3rd and 12. Defense, you can get exotic in your pressure, but you got to keep everything underneath and make the tackle.
The Lumberjacks finally come away with a defensive stop. This is SMU's 4th drive. First 3 ending in touchdowns. They're 5 for 5 on thirds. Play clock down to 5, and Sonny Dykes calls timeout.
SMU, their first 30-second timeout.
We'll take the timeout with Shane Buechele and company. So far, Buechele, 2 touchdown throws, 75% completion percentage, and the Mustangs in control in their home opener. The American Conference on ESPN, brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. 25% capacity here in the stands at Ford Stadium, as it is in so many stadia around the country. So far, Mustang fans enjoying what they see. Longest try to convert 3rd down coming up for Shane Buechele and the Mustangs. First down marker is at the Lumberjack 39. Blitz. Incomplete.
Well, there you go. How about that?
TK Lloyd with a pass breakup.
Yeah, David, here they come. They came with the blitz this time. They brought that extra defensive back, Jermaine Brown. He's one of the nickel backs. They shoot him down from the wide side of the field. It's actually protected pretty well, but I just think the coverage on the back end was even better to knock it away.
First punt for the true freshman from Australia, Matt Frangie. Or rather, I apologize, it is Nagar back to punt it away. Flag down. Larry Jones, the 3rd, calls fair catch. Flag on either side of the field.
Illegal formation. Offense. 5 players in the backfield. That 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the kick. First down, SFA.
Lumberjacks will have it at their own 21 when we return. Trey Self and the Lumberjack offense trying to get things going. Just 14 total yards so far. SFA just one of 15 FCS teams to play football this fall, and only a handful playing a full schedule. They will not play in the spring. They were ineligible for the 2020 postseason anyway, but Colby Carthel saying he wanted to play as much of a fall schedule as he could to be able to take the entire spring off except for practice. FCS spring season begins late February, and the championship game of the FCS is set in May. It's a 19-yard gain for Remy Simmons, the senior's first grab.
This is outstanding execution first and foremost. This is a quarterback and wide receiver on the same page, and Trey Self does a great job selling the play fake, and he knew he had man coverage on the outside, and an even better route ran there by Simmons to get in the open field and snag that pass there.
Easily the biggest gain for the Lumberjacks offensively tonight.
Yeah, they can, David, they could keep things simple, get some momentum, starting to make some plays. That confidence will start to build here.
Unsure about Josh McGowan's status. We saw him gingerly walk off the field in the first quarter. So SFA's down to their third stringer, Jaquari and Turner. Just a yard on first down.
Yeah, Jaquari and Turner, a redshirt freshman, 5'10", 202 pounds. So they've got some thick running backs. You know, these guys are pretty big. You know, McGowan, before he went out, 5'10", 222. There's McGowan there.
One of their leading rushers last season had 6 touchdowns. And next to him was Trajan Henderson, who right now is the backup for Turner if McGowan is unable to return. Both Henderson and Turner, redshirt freshmen. Again, Turner, this time breaks the first tackle and gets decent yardage, setting up 3rd and 4.
Yeah, when this offensive line starts to pull those guards, they're pretty good. Watch this. Watch this action here. This is a good look. This is what a safety would see. You see all those big bodies up in there, and all of a sudden you see this 202-pound running back just kind of pop out of there. You know, that's good football, and, you know, that's what Coach Carthel and his offensive coordinator, Matt Storm, that's what they want to do. They want to play some power football, play action, pass you when they can, and then take the shots downfield when it's the opportunity presents itself.
Third down carry, and Turner is brought down right at the marker. Should be enough. Jimmy Phillips Jr. was there on the stop, but just too late.
Here it is again. Now they've got the kind of a zone blocking scheme, and now they're going to let the defenders take themselves out of the play, and then you just kind of olay them out of the way, and then get your running back to just pick a spot, maybe cut back against the grain.
Trajan Henderson now on the field for the first time. Has not carried the ball this year for the Lumberjacks. Josh McGowan hurt today. Deleon Ward hurt earlier this week. A little more burst, but SMU is there, limiting the gain to 1.
Well, you got to keep your eye on this defense as Trevor Denbo, number 16. He's one of these linebackers, more so probably more of a safety, but they call him the Fox in his defense, and he's going to be lined up all over the place, but he's going to be lined up to the wide side of the field, and it looked like he anticipated that play and slowed it down in the backfield. That's just good heads-up scouting and a good anticipation there by the Ponies defense. There's Denbo there.
He has moved from safety and replacing Patrick Nelson. Had 12 sacks, 80 tackles last season, the Illinois transfer. Blitz. Self dumps it off. That's a first down. Simmons' second catch of the drive.
Yeah, they've got some guys that can, when they catch the ball, hey, they can put their foot in the ground and go north as well. Look at this. Make a guy miss, get upfield. That's all you want. You've already won the battle by catching the ball. Now go be a football player and get right up the field.
Coming in, Simmons. See his numbers, almost 20 yards a grab, and picked up 10. Easily SFA's best field position here for the Mustang 39. Another blitz. Self in trouble, no chance. Will Jones brings him down. Senior from Dallas, first sack of the year, the Baylor transfer.
Well, they tried to catch the Ponies defense slipping. Now watch Jaquari and Turner. He's coming out of the backfield. They were going to hit him on a wheel route, but it's covered well by Richard McBride, number 50. But the play is diagnosed so quick by Will Jones as he's in the backfield, and no time there at all for Trey Self to let that develop.
Jacob Pugh, number 98, was there first. Jones finished the play off. Loss of 6.
Man, I think that was their one shot that they did try to take. They wanted to get the running back up the seam, the sideline, I should say, in a wheel route.
Again, self-pressured. Dumps it off to Henderson with space in front of him. Takes the hard hit by Chase Cromartie. But it sets up 3rd and 2 after the gain from 14.
Oh, there's some collision going on out. My goodness. Chase Cromartie. And this is a nice play to get the ball outside to Henderson, and now he's going 100 miles an hour. But watch this. Wow. Hey.
Heck of a hit to take on your first catch as a Lumberjack.
I mean, is that not what we're trying to take out of the game? Because I mean, it looked like some helmet-to-helmet contact, but man, that was violent.
SFA calls timeout before this third down play.
Timeout. Stephen F. Austin. Their first of the half.
Colby Carthel's Jacks have been on the field for almost 6 minutes and hoping to convert third down when we return. You wonder, Ladera McClain, if the play just before our timeout should be called targeting. This is Henderson taking the lick from Cromartie.
I mean, you got both helmets colliding with one another, and if I'm not mistaken, that's what they're trying to eliminate from the game. Now, when I played, that's a perfect tackle, but in today's game, that's absolutely what they're trying to eliminate.
Looking for Simmons, who was open, but Self had to release it early because of the pressure from Toby and Duquay, and now it's 4th and 2.
Man, it was there. It certainly was there, and you know, that's one of the things that Trey Self, he's got to try to make that play, and he had him open, and you got to throw a good passes right in the teeth of the defense, and if you almost throw it to the back of him, you know, because he's already pirouetting around to try to catch the ball, if you throw it to the back of him, he can turn around and maybe catch the ball.
Jacks will go for it on 4th and 2. Blitz. Self trying to get to the marker and won't. SMU holds on downs.
Now that's just unfortunate. A promising looking drive. You had a lot of momentum, David, and you just can't get 2 yards on 3rd and 4th down here. And it's, you know, I understand what he's looking at. You just want to try to make a play, but the defensive front just too active. Watch big Harrison Lovelace here. That's textbook form, textbook execution by his inside tackle position.
They were out of Chris Campos' field goal range, so no surprise with also this 22-point deficit that Colby Carthel will go for it. After having the ball for almost 7 minutes, SFA comes away with 0. Plenty of time for Buechele on the rollout and wide open. Reggie Robertson Jr.'s first catch of the night goes for 17.
It's a pretty pass play. He's got 2 wide receivers clearing out the middle of the field, and his safety valve is hanging out on the sideline the entire time, and he throws an absolute strike for a first down there.
3 touchdowns on the year coming in for Robertson. That is 16th catch of the season. Daniel squeezes through for a yard. See his numbers coming in. 130 of those yards coming in the season opening win over Texas State. He's been the workhorse so far tonight. That's his 10th carry we just saw. Ulysses Bentley the 4th with 3 carries so far on the evening.
And McDaniel currently 4th in the AAC and rushing at 94.5 yards a game.
This time a much bigger hole. Stiff arm too to give him a couple of extra yards, and it's a first down.
Yeah, I just like McDaniel in the game because, you know, he gives this offense an attitude that, hey, we're going to line up and we're bigger and we're badder than you, and we've got a running back that's no nonsense that will run over you.
Robertson slips the first man. Oh, he is exciting. Senior from nearby DeSoto. 95 catches last season, including 12 touchdowns, and he has 2 on this drive.
And that's missing the 5 final games of last year. So this guy is so explosive coming into this season as the 3rd team all-conference selection. I think that's going to change in a hurry, that he's easily going to be on that first team, no doubt.
Almost intercepted after it pops out of the reach of Rice. Just a bit low.
Yeah, that's one Buechele probably wants back, as Rice was wide open, and if he keeps him upright, I don't have any doubt Rice may split those 2 safeties and score.
Chris McCune was almost there for the INT. Buechele now 11 of 16 passing for 123 and 2 scores. Danny Gray is in the backfield now, alongside Tyler Levine. Now Gray in motion. Safe pass up the middle. That's Tommy McIntyre's first catch of his SMU career. Cornell transfer, a senior from New Jersey.
A nice security blanket underneath. You know, always good for a quarterback to have the tight end. Good catch there by Tommy McIntyre. 6'8", David.
I was going to say 6'8", 258. Tim Jankovic has all the scholarships now, but wants some
place for him, right?
First down marker at the 16. They convert another one. Granson, second effort, makes it a certainty as he gets a couple of yards ahead of the marker, a gain of 6. Junior with a touchdown late in the first quarter.
And there's another display of not quite getting the ball carrier or the receiver down. They were excellent position, but just couldn't make the play.
Levine came in averaging 6 yards a carry. Gets 8 on first down.
That's another nice running back, Levine. We haven't really talked much about him. A nice addition in this backfield. And all three of these running backs have their own style. Each one can certainly add value in different ways in the offense. All of them are good pass catchers out of the backfield.
Buechele in trouble and has to throw it away. Dennis Osagade broke up that play from the start, the junior from Houston.
Well, you can't tell these Lumberjacks they're down 22-0. Again, these guys still playing hard. Look at Osagade. And then you're up to your running back to have to stop a 290-pound man. That's just not going to work. Osagade's still playing hard up there.
SMU looks to be on its way to back-to-back 3-0 starts for the first time in over 35 years. Buechele hoping the best things can score their 4th offensive touchdown. On the jet sweep, no one will touch Danny Gray. 6 more. Caught a touchdown midway through the first. This is a touchdown run.
Well, just too much speed. If you do your scouting report, anytime Shane Buechele goes under center, you've got to be aware of Gray coming around on the end around. And before the defense even recognizes it, David, Gray has a full head of steam of speed, and he's untouched in the end zone. We got a Lumberjack on the ground here.
Right, there's an SFA player down on the far side of the field in front of the Lumberjack sideline. That drive, 10 plays, 68 yards. Ponies up to 247 for the game. That's LaRon Cox, the senior, struggling to get off the field. This again, the 3rd straight FBS opponent for SFA to play against. In a normal season, that would be frowned upon. Things obviously so different this year. And when you're a team like SFA, they've just been looking to fill their schedule. They have a couple of openings still, but say if they fill them and get to a full 11 games this year, they'll fill the last 2 with Division II opponents at home. Danny Gray, 2 touchdowns in the first half. All Ponies in their home opener. It's the very top of Ford Stadium on the southeast side. SMU Mustang Band here, masked up, socially distanced. Bomb Squad just below them. 25% capacity here at Ford Stadium, seeing Chris Nagar and SMU roll to a 29-0 first half lead. Nagar will sail this kick 9 yards deep into the end zone. Lumberjacks have 2 timeouts left, 2:21 remaining in the second quarter.
Yeah, it's just been a tough night so far this first half, and there he is right there, Trey Self, 6 of 8. You know, they've got a game plan to try to keep the ball on the ground, and just hasn't come to fruition yet. They only have 9 yards rushing this evening and 52 passing yards, obviously, and it's just been very, very difficult against this defense. Their most promising drive was obviously the last drive they had, and still came away with nothing on the scoreboard.
And just 59 yards rushing last week in a loss to UTSA, in which they were in it for just about the whole contest. Self sacked. Junior Aho, sophomore from Nice, France, his first sack in an SMU uniform.
Now this defense determined always, and he just stays on his track out here on the outside, and he beats Taron Robinson and really had an easy time getting to the quarterback. So athletic these guys are, 6'4", 260. That's just prototypical for a defensive end, and big, fast, athletic, long-rangey type arms.
This defensive line is showing its depth, and we haven't seen Devere Levelston yet. Said he'd be healthy. Sophomore JUCO transfer who Sonny Dykes is excited about. He's got to be excited about how Aho has done these first two plays, 3rd and long coming. He'll carry the coach as he heads to the sideline.
And I wonder if they do celebrations for sacks and, tackle for losses. We know what they do for interceptions and turnovers.
You'd think at some point that's coming, since
I figured it would be. I mean,
your linebackers, well, obviously your guys up front can recover fumbles, but usually your back seven's picking up the turnovers. What about the big guys?
Do they continue to have parties for the big guys? That's just what I want to know.
SMU called timeout. Sonny Dykes wanting his offense to have enough time to put more points on the board if they can get this 3rd down stop. Colby Carthel, 3 straight Lone Star Conference crowns, building up the Texas A&M Commerce program before heading to Nacogdoches. Former Rice coach David Bailiff, now the head coach in Commerce. Flag down, in fact 2 flags down, well ahead of the line of scrimmage as the handoff went to Turner.
Illegal substitution, 12 players in formation at the snap. Defense, 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. 3rd down.
Well, we'll give them a little breathing room here and make this 3rd down a little bit more reasonable.
Lumberjacks will host 2 Lone Star Conference teams. West Texas A&M and Angelo State the next 2 weeks. This is their 3rd of 4 FBS games scheduled. They'll take on Memphis, another American Conference opponent, on November 21st. Blitz on the drag route. This is Gibson, and it looks to be enough for the 1st down. The speedy sophomore from here in Dallas.
That's just a nice job by Trey Self. Boy, he didn't give up on the play, extended it just enough to where Gibson can drag across the entire defense, like you said, David. And this is a guy that we haven't seen much this evening in open space. He can really do some damage.
Self flushed out of the pocket by Aho. And coming back to make the grab, Chad Awney, the redshirt freshman. First catch in a Lumberjack uniform is a good one in SMU territory.
Hey, that's a big-time throw. Hey, that's not very easy to do. Across his body and finds Awney in some space.
30 seconds left, first half. Awney almost came back to make that catch. Instead, incomplete with Richard McBride on coverage.
Almost made a one-handed grab too, and Trey Self just a little bit off on those passes there. You're not going to have clean windows like you probably would in practice. And you've got to anticipate and sometimes throw those receivers open, and that's a play there. You got to it's just a field play. You got to learn to lead those receivers away from the defender.
Just a 3rd incompletion by Self. On the bubble, that should have been a catch, incomplete. Out of the hands of Lutton Rekel.
Now he catches this clean. The wide receiver tunnel screen was set up pretty nicely, but the bobble and the hesitation allowed the defense to recover. Could have been dangerous too, because that ball got tipped up, could have been picked off again.
Elijah Chapman, the SMU defense, hoping to post the shutout in the first half. They have led from the opening drive. They just bring 3, still get pressure. Catch made. This is Gibson, and trying to dive forward to the marker. He is a yard short.
What an effort.
Timeout. SFA, their 2nd timeout. Please reset the game clock to 14 seconds. 14.
Whenever you call this right, they showed pressure, but yes, they only rushed 3. So he steps up nicely in the pocket, and Gibson here knows where he's got to get and just tries to lunge his body to the spot. He's got to get probably across that 36-yard line to get the first down. That's a heck of an effort.
There was SFA calling timeout, so obviously they will go for it on 4th and 1 here. Kicker Chris Campos with just 1 field goal all year, and that just from 32 yards. Colby Carthel would love to see his team somehow put 6 on the board in the final 14 seconds of the first half. Sonny Dykes, team looks to be on its way to a 3-0 start. They'll start American Conference play next week against a Memphis team that, since the season opening win over Arkansas State, been unable to play their next game due to COVID-19 issues. 4th and 1. Incomplete.
Yeah, that's just a tough one there. I know he wanted to go backside to his tight end, Carson Spence, to his left, but he got held up into traffic, and when that play doesn't develop like you want to, very, very tough to come off to the 2nd and 3rd receiver, the way this defense is getting after him.
Second drive that has stalled in SMU territory. So just 10 seconds remaining. Looks like Shane Buechele, the rare side of him under center. He will take a knee, and this first half will be over. A game SFA squad in their first 2 FBS games allowing just 24 points a contest, but this is a different beast in SMU. Shane Buechele, 135 passing yards, SMU 247 overall, and it's 29-0 SMU over SFA at the half. About to begin the second half. David Salzman, Ladera McLean with you from University Park, all SMU. Our first half stats brought to you by Geico. Lumberjacks had a couple of promising drives in the second quarter, but couldn't turn them into points. SMU from the outset efficient.
Right, SMU was very balanced, I thought, David. They had a 51% to 49% run-pass mix in that first half. They were 7 of 8 on 3rd down. That's well over 87% conversion rate. And of course, Shane Buechele was almost automatic at 68.4% pass completion percentage. And really, if you look at it, SFA, they were one-dimensional, not really being able to run the ball. And that defense is swarming all over the field for the Mustangs. So this second half, a lot of adjustments need to be made for the Lumberjacks to try to crawl back into this one.
Colby Carthel, is it just a question of perhaps trying to win the second half or win the third quarter? How can you get some positives with his unit?
Well, there's an old cliche. When you come out of that locker room, the scoreboard should be 0-0. And that's the mindset that you come out here. We win one possession, one play, one moment at a time. And that's how you got to try to get yourself back here in the second half.
Lumberjacks will have it from their own 25 as the third quarter is underway. Sonny Dykes, like Colby Carthel, with West Texas ties. Of course, Carthel born in tiny Friona, southwest of Amarillo. And of course, when you think of Sonny, you obviously think of his great dad, the late Spike Dykes, and all the wonderful years he had at Texas Tech. Sonny, a former assistant at Texas Tech under Mike Leach.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to play against his father at Texas Tech back in the day at Texas Tech. So yeah, certainly a family tradition there, the Dykes family.
Saw Self's numbers, 86 passing yards in the first half. Completion to begin half number 2. And Xavier Gibson gains 11, his 4th catch of the night.
And see, that's one element of this offense. I didn't really see them try to get Gibson the ball just like they did there. It doesn't need to be deep. It doesn't need to be exotic. Just give him a chance to maybe wiggle and make a guy miss, and good things tend to happen when number 19 has the ball.
Self's second season as Lumberjack quarterback, threw for almost 2,600 yards last year. Trying to get to the outside, and Jaquarian Turner stays on his feet, still going. Great effort, but a big loss. Forward progress to the 30, but a loss of 6.
There's a blown assignment up front. And man, when you do that, it's a feeding frenzy in the backfield for this defense. You see it here. Watch the miss. You may not be able to see it there. There it is, right there. And that miss block there allows the defense to just try to tee off on Turner. And credit to him, he's fighting and trying to just keep himself upright.
Josh McGowan started at tailback for the Lumberjacks. Injured in the first quarter. Deleon Ward, their usual starter, unable to play tonight. Feeding now against the run. Turner loses 2 more. Chapman there.
Oh, he's just a big bowling ball in the middle of this defense. And if you're going to play a 3-down lineman front, you better have a big war daddy like Chapman in the middle of that thing that can just kind of clog up the middle of everything and mess up the blocking schemes. And he did a great job of that there.
Defensive coordinator Kevin Kane calls Chapman our meanest, strongest player.
I mean, he looks it. I mean, at 40, he's stretching out quite a bit on Big Chapman there.
First down marker at the 46. To the ground, and Turner with room. Flag down. Turner down about 4 yards shy of the marker. 14-yard gain pending the penalty.
Well, that flag was thrown from way back in the back by the field judge.
SFA just 2 penalties in the first half.
Personal foul. Illegal block below the waist. Offense. Number 8. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Second down.
The third penalty of the game on the wideout Larry Jones III.
There's only a couple penalties that field judge can throw. One is substitutions, right? And the other one is wide receivers coming back from outside of the box to inside of the box, blocking below the waist. And he gets caught there, Larry Jones III. That was a great play. You know, they
third down.
Actually catch the defense sleeping a little bit, and they bust a big one, but a penalty brings it back once again.
3rd and Highland Park. Or more 26 yards.
3rd and Mockingbird, right?
Colby Carthel was high on his quarterback, Trey Self, calls him an emerging leader. Playing good football coming in, 285 yards last week. And the loss to UTSA. This, of course, quite a different quality opponent. I know the Lumberjacks will be happy to take the drive back to Nacogdoches and stay home for a couple of weeks. Taking on West Texas A&M and Angelo State, 2 Division II opponents in the next 2 weeks. Keeping it to the ground, rather Self keeps it and slides down right around the 20. They'll say he started his slide just shy of the 20-yard line.
Yeah, it's just tough to overcome those penalties like that. And anytime you got 3rd and a mile, it's just going to play advantage to a defense like the Ponies. And yeah, you just got to, you know, regroup, come back, and now your defense got to go back out here and stop this high-powered offense.
Last time, Max Quick tried to catch a deep snap and went through his hands and led to a safety. If he can get this punt away, it'll be his 2nd of the night. Gray backpedaling. He'll return this. Somehow able to get over 10 yards on the return. Brought down just shy of midfield. Offensive coordinator Garrett Riley said Danny Gray is ready to break out. He has 2 touchdowns so far tonight, showing what he can do on special teams as well. Shane Buechele expected to have his MBA degree by the end of the spring semester. You see his numbers in the first half here tonight. 7 touchdown passes on the year now for Buechele to just 2 interceptions. Of course, anyone playing in 2020, LaDarren, won't lose a year of eligibility. He can technically come back for his 3rd year as a grad transfer in 2021, but obviously he has NFL aspirations as well. Here's Ulysses Bentley, the 4th. 33-yard touchdown run, his first touch of the first half, and his first touch of half number 2, gains 28.
Yeah, he's just electrifying in the open space, and he's not afraid to lower his shoulder. But watch this bit of running here. Makes the guy miss at the line of scrimmage, and then all bets are off right here because he's just so fast, and these defensive backs have to worry about him every time he gets it.
Now T.J. McDaniel on the carry to the edge. And some room down the sideline. Maybe enough for another first down. I'm sure Sonny Dykes would love to have Shane Buechele back in 2021. They're not going to think about it for a few months, obviously. Yeah. But with those NFL aspirations, it'd be interesting to see what his decision will be.
It's all about timing when it comes to that draft. And, you got to go when your stock is high. And right now, arguably, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation, David. So, yeah, you got to ride that wave certainly while you can. But some of these other players certainly think about you're playing with house money this year. You can come back next year.
To the end zone, back shoulder to Robertson, incomplete. When he decided to transfer from Texas, he was finishing up his undergrad degree, his last spring semester in Austin, and on weekends he would drive up. He'd actually come up to Dallas on Friday just to hang out with the players so he could become engrossed in the SMU culture right away. And Sonny Dykes says that was huge in having his future teammates kind of gravitate to him and why he was a leader from day one.
And you got to have that at the quarterback position. You got to believe in a guy that certainly that you believe in and can get behind. He's a great leader. We talked about that earlier. It's a good example of that there.
McDaniel's 13th carry for 75 yards. Ulysses Bentley 4 carries, 76 yards and a score. And now Bentley in the backfield on 3rd down and 5.
Yeah, they're getting up to the line of scrimmage here, getting the best play they want. This is what they've done. This is why you get up there, you get a pre-snap read, you get the look over the defense. If you like your front and your offensive line can block it well.
Granson takes the hit. Should be 1st and goal. Kylan Granson's 5th catch, including a touchdown.
And they just run some nice little hitch routes in the middle of the field. And Granson, so knowledgeable, he knew where he needed to go for the 1st down marker, hooks up and shows the big numbers. And Buechele throws a strike.
Buechele came in, nation's leader in passing yards, 711 yards in 2 games, a modest 141 so far tonight. Tyler Levine is the tailback. Sophomore gets the call, stays on his feet, reverses field, has a blocker in front of him. With a flag down, he dives, touchdown, but pending the penalty.
There's a lot of peel back blocking here. Oh man, what a great run though.
That last block from Danny Gray may be what led to the flag.
Illegal block in the back. Offense, number 5. 10-yard penalty. 3rd down.
It was on Gray, so replay the down.
Yeah, he knows it. Yeah, here it is again. And first of all, great job by the defense. That's Osagade again, wreaking havoc. Good block there.
Correction. 1st down.
You see big Hayden Howerton, but yes, right there, Danny Gray. Got to get the front of the person's jersey there, and pads, I should say, and that one's coming back.
1st and goal from the 13. Bentley, no one will touch him. Touchdown number 2 of the night, and his 7th of the season to lead the nation.
Now this might be, David, the best job blocking the entire night by this offensive line. Watch how dominant they are here at the point of contact, and they're coached so well that once they make that contact, the defender is almost rendered helpless, and it creates a huge running lane for the running backs.
Chris Nagar extra point makes it 36-0.
Here it is again. Look at, you've got a down block, and then you just got hat on hat, and they just manhandle at right side of the defensive line. Here's another good look at it here. You got all these blue shirts engaged with the guy in a white jersey, and it's just no match.
Hayden Howard's in the left guard, and then the Outland Trophy candidate, the left tackle, Jalen Thomas, finishing it off in his 22nd straight start. Business as usual for number 26 tonight.
Yeah, that's just what he does. He's just electrifying. I mean, at any moment's notice, he can go to the house with it. And you know what? It's kind of a crowded backfield in the backfield, but hey, these guys make it work. They have plenty of footballs to go around.
SMU's 5 touchdown drives tonight have taken 226, 336, 212, 319, and that last one 2 minutes and 14 seconds. They don't need the ball for a long time to move it far downfield.
Yeah, certainly pretty efficient.
Another touchback off the foot of Nagar. We're going to show you the American Conference preseason poll. Of course, we're a few weeks into the 2020 campaign, but Sonny Dykes' Mustangs picked 4th. Now, Memphis, that preseason poll was done before players started to opt out. Memphis' star tailback, Kenneth Gainwell, will not play in 2020. They were picked 3rd. UCF, Cincinnati. We asked Sonny Dykes, look, what does it take to take the next step to be able to compete for that conference crown? They started 8-0 last year and then faded. And he said, we have to be stronger up front on both sides of the ball. So what's been your impression there?
Well, I think they're on the right track, certainly. I think these guys, when you're at this level, it's not always about how big you are. It's about how technically sound you are up front. And then you've got to have a mean streak from time to time. And I think the offense and defensive lines have that mean streak. And they have shown it tonight. They have shown some really good stretches of dominance throughout this contest.
Now here's the thing. They were 10-3 last year. But in 8 of those 13 games, they gave up 30 points or more.
But you can't do that. And I know it's a different era of football. Everybody can score on everybody, especially when you start talking about the better teams, certainly at the FBS level. And it's tough to keep people down around 20 points. But, yeah, you want to take some possessions away from some of those high-powered offense, especially if you play UCF. Memphis is always good offensively every year. You want to try to keep the ball away from them as much as you can.
They were 8-0. They were on College game day, their game at Memphis, and they lost 56-48. At some time, though, you're going to think, huge hit there on Trajan Henderson. But at some point, they're going to have to win maybe a 31-24 game, something like that. And obviously, that's up to the defense.
Well, they've got the players to make it happen. And the one thing that I always look at in a defense, and as you look at this replay, coming into tonight's game, they're a +1 in the turnover margin. So they're getting the takeaways, and after this game, it's going to be even better. So they're taking the ball away. They're minimizing teams to have long established drives, and they're just mixing it up, and that's what you have to do. I think they're on the right track.
Donald Clay with a big hit last play, and here Henderson with a burst of speed. Easily SFA's biggest gain on the ground, 21 on the carry.
Well, where's this guy been? Man, he is running downhill with a mission, and that's what you have to do. Keegan Holm and Drew Bamer, well, they do an excellent job. The right guard, right tackle, boy, they get a hat on a hat, and it creates a natural little void and no hesitation whatsoever by the ball carrier.
Roderick Robertson Jr., a relation to Reggie. Redshirt freshman finally made the tackle. Now Turner, a little hop, skip, and a jump, and good yardage on first down, 6 more. I saw Cincinnati last week, and best scoring defense in the league the last 2 years, and they have 9 starters back. So they're going to be able to hold opponents down most of the time. UCF has been so impressive in their 2 wins at Georgia Tech and at East Carolina so far. This top of the American Conference, it was really good last year. I think it's better this year.
I really think so, and I think these defenses will eventually catch up. You talked about Cincinnati, but these offenses are prolific, David. I mean, they've got quarterbacks that can make it happen. Skilled players are certainly prominent across the board with all these ball clubs. It's going to be fun times, and yes, certainly in the conference.
Jeremiah Miller, the catch for the Jacks. Memphis here, hopefully, of course, they have had COVID-19 issues. Their last 2 games have been postponed since their season opening win over Arkansas State the first Saturday of September. It's a 2:30 Central kick here at University Park next Saturday.
Well, I hope they get to play that one, because I think that's going to be a really, really good contest. 2 top teams going at it.
Turner lost the ball. And right into the hands of the big left tackle, Zach Ingram.
Just like that, you got Trajan Henderson back into the ball game, and I think they can do something with what they've got in the running backfield. Trajan Henderson showing you a little bit of power and some speed. Quarian Turner doing what he can too, running with some power.
They're both Dallas area kids from Garland and Angleton, and that is not by accident. Colby Carthel and his staff, tremendous recruiting in the DFW area when they were Division II coaches at Texas A&M Commerce, the national championship there. And having Dallas area kids go down to the Piney Woods in East Texas to play for SFA. Another fumble, and SFA recovers again. That was Henderson.
And this is one thing that this is what you do way back in when you have a spring practice and when you can have a normal summer practice, those timings and those handoffs, and now you're starting to get guys into the game, David, that didn't normally get the first and second reps. You're starting to get these guys that maybe get scraps at the end of practice, and now the timing of the quarterback handoff mesh points are a little bit off.
Right. SFA, one of the very few teams that pretty much put together a full spring practice. They started in early February, but Henderson's their fourth string tailback. Self in trouble. Finds his man and down right around the first down marker. That's Miller.
Well, he really throws a nice ball on the move. You know, having seen him for back-to-back weeks, I think this is one of the strengths of Trey Self's game. Watch him sidestep, stays in the pocket as long as he felt he could, keeps his eyes upfield. So important for quarterbacks at any level. Keep your eyes upfield while you're scrambling. A nice pass inside for a first down.
18 yards, enough to move the chains. From the 18. Quick throw. Holding on, Donald Clay. That's a second big hit of the drive. Larry Jones the third with the reception.
Well, I think we got a little RPO on that one. That was a read pass option. Boy, you really got to be gifted at the quarterback position because it's a run play called, right? But if you see that defender off the inside receiver enough, you just raise up and throw the ball. You don't even hesitate. And I think that's what Trey Self did there. That's just in the game. That's a quarterback and a receiver doing the knowing nod and understanding, hey, we've got to play here. Let's execute.
This drive has taken just over 6 minutes. Second drive of that length in this game for the Jacks. Nowhere to go. McBride throws Turner down.
Man. Oh, and Richard McBride is a force. He hadn't called him much today. Just a big physical guy, 6'1", 232 pounds, David. And look at him fill this gap here. This is textbook linebacker play. Shuffle, shuffle, feel, and lo and behold, there's the ball carrier.
Grad transfer from Troy, Alabama. SMU's leading tackler last season with 98.
Yeah, he's a beast on that defense. They got a lot of beastly guys, especially at that linebacker level.
Blitz. Catch made. Again, right around the first down marker. It's Miller. First down marker was at the 8, and he's marked at the 7. First and goal.
One more time, Trey Self hanging tough in the pocket. Boy, this quarterback getting some confidence here. Look at him standing tall, waiting on that receiver just to clear enough. Throws a nice pass again.
13th play of the drive coming.
Now Trey Self having himself a pretty solid night. He's 14 of 19, 133 yards. He's trying to get the touchdown though.
Controls the high snap. Turner might have gotten a yard. Clock stopped. 1:58 to go third quarter. And the Lumberjack is slow to get out. That's Keemon White, the left guard. Now the clock begins to run as McBride comes off. SMU getting on the board quickly. First drive of the game. Ulysses Bentley the fourth, 33-yard touchdown run on what was a backwards hitch pass from Shane Buechele. Mustangs have been in control the whole way. SFA looking to get on the board for the first time. Zell breaks away with space. Leaps over, somersault, touchdown, wow!
How great is that?
Sports Center top 10 play for 6. Look at the junior quarterback leap in the air.
I told you at the beginning of the game, no matter what the score is, these Lumberjacks are going to give every ounce they can until triple zeros. Trey Self exposing his body, doing it for his team, and they get on the scoreboard finally, David, in this game. Well deserved there.
You can see how much, even with this game out of reach, that touchdown meant to him.
Absolutely, and you should have saw that sideline. You would have thought this game was a 36-35 game, and they just scored to win up. Let alone it's their first score of the game, being down 36-6 now. That sideline erupted, and their leader putting it all on the line for his team.
Look at the drive, 8 minutes, 20 seconds. That's old school.
That is old school.
Chris Campos, the extra point. And the Lumberjacks from the Southland on the board for the first time. Worth many looks. Trey Self sacrificing his body for his team. Minutes, 20 seconds off the clock for SFA as they go 75 yards, and they're on the board here in their 4th ever meeting against SMU. Mustangs scoring touchdowns on their first 3 drives, and a 36-7 lead for the Ponies as they are on their way to 3-0. David Salzman, Ladera McLean with you, Ford Stadium, technically in
number
University
8,
Park.
SMU is now wearing number 45.
We're in the heart of the Dallas area where SMU has done a great job these past few years marketing to the Dallas area and trying to have Dallas become more of a college football town. The Cowboys are going to control this place.
Oh, yeah.
But the excitement surrounding SMU football is as high as it's been in quite some time.
I think my favorite uniform is the Dallas across the chest. When they wear those, boy, that's awesome.
Reggie Robertson Jr. on the return. And Shane Buechele and the SMU offense will see the field yet again. An efficient night. They're not on their way to 711 yards like they had, or rather 710 like they had last week in the win over North Texas. They're at 308, but they've been in control from the start. Shane Buechele, second-year grad transfer from nearby Arlington. Of course, his dad, Steve, longtime Major League Baseball player, including with the Texas Rangers. Buechele, 14-21 passing for 141 and 2 touchdowns. No coincidence that when SMU started to rise last year, Shane Buechele being here was a big reason. That pass a little low for Tommy McIntyre.
Yeah, he just fits this offense so perfect in what they wanted to do. And, you know, of course, at Texas, when Tom Herman came in, that style of offense at Texas was more of a power running quarterback position where Sam Ehlinger, he fit perfect in that offense. And it's no really knock to really Shane Buechele. He's a throwing quarterback with the ability to occasionally run the ball, and I think he just fits perfect here.
Big hole for McDaniel. Crunch down just shy of the 40. Gain of 18.
There's old steady Eddie. TJ McDaniel just kind of sets the tone right back. And look at this excellent kick out block there. You've got some backup offensive linemen now in the game blocking well.
McDaniel, 5 more. He's up to 97 yards on the ground on 15 carries. And his teammate, Ulysses Bentley, the 4th, just 5 carries, but for 89 yards. There's a flag down. Of course, SMU, along with every American Conference team, testing for COVID-19 3 times a week, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. 5 straight weeks, no positives here.
Personal foul, targeting, defense, number 95. That play is under further review.
Caleb Fox, the true freshman from the Woodlands, Texas, in the Houston area, called for targeting, and as always, they will review this to see if Fox will be ejected from the game. That's Garrett Riley. We know more about his brother Lincoln, head coach of Oklahoma, who did not have a good day. Garrett is Lincoln's younger brother. First year as an offensive coordinator here with SMU. Take another look at whether this targeting call will be
I don't
upheld.
see much there. I just think I see a big guy wanting to fall on the pile. Now, unnecessary roughness, I can maybe go with that, but I don't know if that's full-fledged targeting.
Now, maybe a big reason for that call is that the helmet fell off.
Yeah, watch Big 95. I think he's just saying, man, I have run this far. I'm getting some air. Well, that angle, it does look a little bit like he did lead with the head. That's incredible. The difference of angles can kind of show a little different intent there. This angle here, it looks like he's just wanting to fall on the pile.
Terrence Ware got there first, and then Fox, using all of his 310-pound frame, to fall hard on the sophomore tailback and TJ McDaniel. Our referee, Nate Black, taking a look. One small change to the targeting rule: if you are ejected for targeting, it used to be that you had to leave the stadium. Now they will let you stay on the sideline. Big reason is almost all targeting calls are unintentional.
Yeah.
So right now an 18-yard gain, or rather, I apologize, a 5-yard gain for McDaniel. He had 18 yards in the previous play. And then if this target call is upheld, they'll move the ball forward. Doesn't look like they will, however.
Oh, they're taking a long time looking at it, right? And talking it through and looking at it from every angle.
So SMU taking on Memphis next week at a 2:30 Central start after they wrap this one up against SFA.
After further review, there was no contact to the player's head or neck area. Therefore, there is no foul for targeting. It'll be second down at the 44-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 51 seconds. 5-1. The clock will start on my signal.
I'm telling you, I think the big fella just wanted to fall on
Number
the pile.
25 must sit out for one play due to his helmet coming off during the play.
And a lot had to do with number 95's lower region. Belly falling on him.
You know,
It just kind of squirted the helmet off.
he didn't have a tackle coming into this game. He's like, I want to get my first tackle in an SFA uniform.
Hey, the guy is 6'2", 310 pounds, and you made him run a 20-yard sprint. He's getting something out of that.
So second down and 5. And Buechele under center. Bentley now the tailback.
Watch out.
Oh, that is broken up right away. B.J. Thompson forcing the big loss. They lose 8.
Hey, this young man's got a lot of potential. He's 6'6", David. Has some long arms. He's been relatively quiet tonight, but this is just a great play, and he beats Granson to the point of contact, and he makes the play in the backfield. That's the biggest defensive play for them tonight.
SMU is 8 of 9 on thirds, but they need 13 yards here. Lumberjacks might have called timeout. Brother, I apologize. That's the end of the third quarter. Our officials have called timeout. As we'll head to the fourth. Ulysses Bentley, the fourth. Got this game started with a touchdown run, and his touchdown run in the third. SMU's only points since halftime. Trey Sill providing the highlights for SFA's only score. One of the prettier campuses in all of the Lone Star State, Southern Methodist University. SMU 36-7 the lead over SFA as the fourth quarter gets underway. David Salzman, Ladura McLean from Ford Stadium and University Park. 3rd and 13 for Shane Buechele and the SMU offense. Hit as he throws as SFA brought the blitz. He short arms the intended target, Kylan Granson, and it's 4th down.
Wow, look at this. They bring a different blitz from what they brought the entire game, and they get home on this, David. Watch this. It come in the middle, and you got to stand tall as a quarterback, but you will take a hit Kai Lloyd coming in from that nickel back position, now rushing inside, and was able to get home.
So a rare punt coming for Chris Nagar. We've seen quite a bit of. Also their kicker, kickoff man, the Texas transfer. Ball down just shy of the 30, a punt of 38 yards. We'll take a timeout early in the fourth. SMU's played a current or former Southland Conference school in all 3 of their games this season. They're on their way to 3-0. You win a U.S. Open title, you get a good seat. That's Eric Dickerson on the top right.
It sure is.
He has a better seat than Eric Dickerson here at Ford Stadium.
Yeah, but DeChambeau is the Hulk now, as he's added on a ton of muscle to win that U.S. Open.
I'd say. Jaquarian Turner, a gain of 1. First possession of the fourth quarter for SFA. They have 180 yards total, 46 on the ground.
Well, let's see if SFA can put back-to-back, long sustaining drives again. I think that is the recipe of how they really want to play, David. I think they want to be able to control the clock and then, every once in a while raise up, do some play action pass, do some intermediate zone passing. And I think that's the recipe for success.
Trey Self, highlight reel touchdown in SFA's last drive. Hands it off again to Turner. So I wasn't expected we would see much of Jaquarian Turner today, but Josh McGowan injured in the first quarter. That is his 18th carry, but for just over 30 yards.
Well, they're going to try to get over the 50-yard mark here. I think with that last carry, they may be awfully close now. Well, no, I think they're at 47 yards for the game. And that's the one emphasis or the one little spot that they've got to be better at. And I'm pretty sure here they're going to come back and try to continue to keep it on the ground. Although this is a 3rd and 3 here, you got a run-pass option here.
Has Turner open in the flat, but overshoots him as the pressure came.
Yeah, that was there. That's a play they tried to do in the first half. And once again, the bruiser himself, Richard McBride, was right there, kind of making that pass a little bit difficult. It's just like a long swing pass. You get the matchup you want one-on-one, and the pass just couldn't get completed.
Offense stays on the field, 4th and 3. SFA picked up the stunt initially, now pressured, and overthrows his man, incomplete. Aho provided the pressure. Sophomore from Nice, France, has had himself quite a game.
Yeah, just no receiver trying to run away from a defender. All these receivers ran right to the defensive back, turned around, and just stayed there. And they were so easy to be covered. That was just an easy throw. Watch these receivers. Watch they run to contact, and then they just stop. Nobody trying to run away. Nobody trying to get back to where they can show the quarterback. And they're covered like a blanket by this secondary.
Still early 4th, even with a 36-0 lead. Here comes Shane Buechele again. 14-23 for 141 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Came in the nation's leading passer, 711 yards. And the flip to Rashee Rice, and Rice with space in front of him. A flag down as Rice gets into the end zone. This very likely coming back.
Holding. Offense. For 14. 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
Rashee Rice, the sophomore from North Richland Hills, Texas, sees this come back.
Now let's take a look at it again, see what we got.
On number 13.
And there it is, 13.
It's Judah Bell on the hold.
Yep, that's a pretty good call right there in front of the lineman's view. Easy call, bring it on back. And I think you're going to see this first-team offense linger a little bit more in the fourth quarter. Last week against North Texas, they hit a lull to where they really didn't do anything. They jumped out to a 24-7 lead last week, and then they just kind of just played around and kind of didn't really do anything. And you're seeing a little stretch of that here in this game, and I think they want to finish on a high note. You always talk about momentum with offense. You always want to finish how you play with some positive reinforcements.
SMU, They're first.
Mustangs
Media timeout
call
on the field.
timeout just before the snap. Shane Buechele will talk about it with Sonny Dykes and his offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley. They're up 29, but you can tell Shane won 6 more. American Conference opener versus Memphis coming up next weekend. SMU passing their final non-conference test here tonight. 36-7 the lead. Been able to get 3 of their 4 scheduled non-conference games in. There's the game for the Iron Skillet against TCU, which was to take place 2 weeks ago. Canceled due to COVID issues with the Horned Frogs. On 1st and 10, Ulysses Bentley the 4th. Oh, what a move, dashing to the outside. It's on 1st and 20 rather, but he picks up most of it, 15.
Well, he's just so impressive. You know, to make a cut like this, running full speed, and really have that Spider-Man sense, David, to look out to his left to know he had space. Watch this, tiptoe out, and he's going. That's that jump cut ability that this guy, you just can't coach those types of skills.
Had Jermaine Brown's head on a swivel as he saw.
Yeah.
Look at the big smile. On
He know he did it on that one.
6 carries, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now McDaniel trying to get his way to the century mark. He's at 99 yards on 16 carries. It's 3rd and short coming up for the Ponies.
And McDaniel's been the workhorse today. And I think they really like that, to where they have that bruiser, they have the workhorse, and then every once in a while they'll hit you with Bentley. And Bentley can just go at any moment. We talked about that the entire game. But Daniel kind of keeps the ship calm. This offensive line loves to fire off. Every offensive lineman loves to fire off and run block. And they've ran the ball well this evening, right at 200 yards rushing for the game.
McDaniel, the man in motion. And an empty set for Buechele. Going deep, looking for Rice. Some jostling, and no flag.
I think Willie Roberts got away with one, but sometimes you have to have that happen. If you're going to play cornerback at this level, watch, he holds right there, and Rice just can't get that left arm free to get back on the back shoulder fade. But credit to Willie Roberts to be crafty enough to get away with it.
And you talked about how this first team offense wants some positives to end the night. I think a big reason why they're still on the field. They go for it. Blitz. Incomplete. Buechele had a backpedal and throws behind Robertson.
Now that's the same blitz on the last possession. This time they bring Takai Lloyd from the other side, but he still ends up in between the guard and the center. Watch this, here he comes. They do a little stunt, and that frees up Takai Lloyd, and then you've got another defender that's already there at the point of contact to make Buechele get rid of it before he won it.
Both went right by the right guard, Danielson Ike.
Yeah, just that little confusion, that little hesitation by the offensive line, not knowing who they need to pick up, and the running backs not knowing to go where for pass protection.
This was 29-0 at the half. SFA has been even with the Mustangs since that break. Self looking to throw, and throws it away. Pressure by Nelson Paul.
Yeah, I think Jeremiah Miller may have run the wrong route on this one, I should say, but this guy's been under siege the entire game. This defensive front, we touted them how deep in depth and aggressive they can be, and when your receivers can't get open right away, you hold it just a tad too long, and this is the things that you deal with playing quarterback at the college level. You've got some guys that are just as athletic, if not more, coming to take you down to the ground.
Just saw a picture of 96 Devere Levelston. Sonny Dykes is excited to have him to add to the depth of this defensive line. He's in there on the tackle. Sophomore from nearby DeSoto and a transfer from Tyler Junior College, where he had 12.5 tackles for loss in 8 games. He had offers from Big Ten and ACC schools coming out of Tyler Junior College and decided to come back home to the Dallas area.
And you're starting to see that more and more. You know, a lot of these high school players from around the area, they go off and it sounds good. You go off to California, you go off to maybe somewhere in Florida, but it's nothing like coming home playing football in your hometown.
Time it on the field. Trey Self and the Jacks have a 3rd and 9 when we return. The American Conference on ESPN, brought to you by the Air Force Reserve. Start your adventure with the Air Force Reserve. David Salzman, Ladera McLean, early fourth quarter, all SMU from the start. SFA with it 3rd and 9 from their own 28-yard line. Third straight FBS opponent for the Jacks to begin the season. Self having to roll out and throw it away.
Okay. Touché by this defense of SMU. They said, okay, you want to heat our quarterback up? Well, we're going to heat your guy up and see how he likes it. He didn't handle it too well, and the Ponies defense gets off the field.
Trey Self has been efficient. I think the question is, and look, the competition's going to get much easier for most of the remainder of the season for these Lumberjacks. Can SFA pull out the big play? We saw the 8-minute, 20-second drive earlier today, but even on the FCS level now, you need some big plays to be successful.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they've got the players to do it. And it's all about the scheme and execution, certainly.
Danny Gray has been busy today. A couple of touchdowns and a couple of nice returns. Brought down just shy of midfield.
Yeah, you got to have some of that explosiveness, you know, in your offense, especially in today's game. And, you know, looking at SMU, they have no shortage of that by any means. They have arguably at any time of the game 6 guys at any moment can really do some damage and go to the house. You know, they've got arguably one of the best quarterbacks this season, as we got a new quarterback coming in the game now for the Ponies.
So Shambu Shell's night is over. Struggled in the second half. Overall, 14 to 25 for 141. We see Terrence Gibson II, the redshirt freshman from Houston, Westfield High School graduate. Hands it off to TJ McDaniel. He's able to dive forward past midfield. So now he and Bentley both with over 100 yards on the ground tonight.
Well, when you see Gibson in the game, Terrence Gibson, the redshirt freshman quarterback, you're going to see a lot of read option. He's a great athlete, can certainly run. Certainly been mindful of him down there at Springfield, Westfield, I should say, Springfield, I should say. But, you know, certainly a quarterback that can hit the home run with his leg because he has the speed and ability.
Trying to show his ability here. Falls forward for a couple. We approach the 10-minute mark here in the fourth quarter. Second half, SMU struggled offensively, but jumping out to a 29-0 lead at the break. They converted 8 of their first 9 third downs. They won't get to 710 yards like they did last week at North Texas. They're at 347. They've been in control. It's a third down catch, and then space in front of them after the catch. Into the red zone. Kiki Burns' first catch for 28.
Yeah, this is a pretty nice throw here by Gibson. I thought it might have been a tad late, but it definitely gets there in time. Watch this here, sells the play fake. Whoa. You just see the receiver, Burns, turn into an athlete and make a big gain.
Now in the red zone at the 19. Cutting to the outside past the 10. It's going to be 1st and goal to Merrick Williams' first carry, sophomore from Angleton, Texas.
Oh, they just send wave after wave, and the depth certainly showing up now here in the fourth quarter, as this is basically the fourth string running back in the game for the Ponies. They just come at you in waves. They just have so many players, so many talented kids that just come out and they look pretty good.
Gibson, the keeper, gets the block from Calvin Wiggins, then strolls into the end zone for 6. His first touchdown of the year.
Now that was a lot like what he did in high school. That read option is lethal. Really nothing the defense can really do. If you read it correctly, and you've got a guy that can get to the edge of the defense just like Terrence Gibson can. And
the first touchdown of his career, Terrence Gibson II. As Nagar kicks the extra point through. 43-7 is the SMU lead. So Gibson, his first drive, 54 yards on 5 plays. And again, sees the end zone for the first of what he hopes is many times wearing blue for SMU. But Shane Buechele out there after the extra point, congratulating his teammates. So before the season started, Shane and his girlfriend, Paige Vasquez, started a GoFundMe account and in the end raised $50,000 for the Mayor's Disasters Relief Fund. You see Shane, Paige, Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson, all money going to the Dallas area for COVID-19 relief. One of the many examples of what Shane Buechele does off the field as a member of this community.
Yeah, he's just a great kid. Well, that's a nice job. Just, man, what can you say more about this young man?
Of course, he's from this area, Arlington, going to Austin, playing for Texas for 2 years, and he has come back and making this home yet again. It's just one of the things you can do when you have the influence like him. He says, I want to raise money for this important cause, and he's going to get a lot of people, obviously, to listen.
Well, I think that has to make SMU feel a little better. You know, they scored 22 points in the first quarter. They scored 7 in the second, and another touchdown in the third, but really hadn't done much until just then.
So we talked about how Colby Carthel's done a great job recruiting here in the Dallas area, and beginning to recruit better and better in East Texas. Of course, you know, East Texas is home of the Piney Woods. He says that there's a pine tree within 100 yards of a player's front door, he needs to be a lumberjack. He is good for about 2-3 great quotes every time he talked to him. He said, I'm tickled to death that we're playing a full schedule this fall. His words, he's tickled to death.
He's just a great guy to talk to, right? I mean, I can see why these kids want to go play for him. And, you know, of course, we've been to SFA, you know, over the course of broadcasting various games and having to visit Nacogdoches, and it's a football community. It's a school community. I mean, they certainly believe in their lumberjacks, and he's on the right track. Again, another top 5 recruiting class in the nation, so he's certainly doing something right.
Been 10 years since they won a conference title. It's with the record-breaking quarterback Jeremy Moses. Brady Attaway, who has all the other SFA passing records, was his backup. By the way, the third-string quarterback on that 2010 SFA team, SMU's offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley. Said he enjoyed his time in Nacogdoches, but maybe not the best time to transfer to SFA from Texas Tech, playing behind the 2 record breakers for the Lumberjacks. 3rd and 8 coming. Catch made, and then knocked out. It's incomplete.
Yeah, he just didn't secure it. And that's just one of those plays they just haven't made. Good pass here again by Trey Self. And look at this. Excuse me, I'm sorry, got a backup quarterback in the game.
That's Preston Weeks.
Preston Weeks in the game. Throws a nice ball, and Chad Awney couldn't quite hold on to it.
Roger Robertson Jr. knocking the ball away, the redshirt freshman. And Max Quick is out to punt. Colby Carthel says, I want to get every East Texas player in his SFA camps. Because East Texas is a hotbed of talent, as you know. And even if players go somewhere else, you said it for some of these SMU players too. Things don't work out of their original destination. They want to know they have a good place to come back home to. Brian Massey on the return. It's the best punt return of the night for the Mustangs, going for 42 after the 45-yard punt. Just past the midway point of quarter number 4. Mustangs about to be 3-0 in back-to-back seasons for the first time since the Pony Express days. Well, Ladarian, someone wanted to go home early because typically they wait till the end of the game to turn the tower red after an SMU victory.
Does that affect the light bill if you cut it on a little bit too early?
I know it's a little presumptuous, but
I thought you had to turn these big lights off first and then turn the red ones.
Someone's ready to get home. Maybe they want to watch the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, there you go.
Tamarick Williams on the first down carry. He has had 2 strong ones the last 2 possessions, and into the red zone past the 15, 17 yards.
Yeah, Tamarick Williams, another nice run. And these guys have their own unique style, and they're going to shuffle the offensive line around also up front, getting some valuable minutes for a lot of these backup players. This offense machine continuing to roll.
Gibson, touchdown run on his last carry. Slung down at the 5, just shy of the marker. Flag down, 6:18 remaining.
Yeah, read option, and hey, it's a good read by the quarterback, and now you're just trying to get as much as you can. And the flags come down, but that was way on the other side of the play.
There are 2 fouls in play. Personal foul, number 9 of the offense. Personal foul, number 10 of the defense. Those fouls will offset. Result of the play, first down. Correction, second down.
William Brown for SMU. And Miles Brooks for the Lumberjacks. Called for the offsetting penalties after the play. Sonny Dykes has seen his team go 5 for 5 in the red zone so far today, after they were 8 of 8 on red zone drives. And almost all of those finishing in touchdowns.
Yeah, coming into tonight's game, they were right at about 69%. That put them 4th in the AAC conference.
That 8 for 8 performance against North Texas last week. Make it 6 for 6 on red zone drives today. Touchdown to Tamarick Williams. Sophomore's first touchdown in an SMU uniform. $49-7 with the extra point to come.
Yeah, look at these guys get on their blocks, and then they just maul the defensive front once again. And then no matter who it is up front, the second team, the third team offensive linemen, they just look fundamentally sound, just a little bit meaner than the Lumberjacks are up front. And these running backs tonight have certainly benefited from that.
Terrence Weir was down for a moment, off the field on his own power. As for the 3rd straight game, Chris Nagar has been busy. American Conference Co-Special Teams Player of the Week after the performance 1 week ago in Denton. And the lone Special Teams Player of the Week in the league after SMU's season opening win over Texas State. 50-7 is the SMU lead with 6:01 to go.
Yeah, they're on their way to getting close to 60 again. And you know what? I didn't know that the 65 points last week against North Texas was the most in a road game. I just didn't know that. And so and it's the 4th game of 59 points under Sonny Dykes. So if this second unit, third unit continues to go, they're going to continue to knock down some more records.
So next week, Memphis comes to town, and here are notable players who have opted out, and none more notable than Kenneth Gainwell. What will Memphis do without their star tailback? Last year, almost 2,100 all-purpose yards, and then they lose one of their leaders on defense, Tim Hart. UCF losing 3 key players, including their projected number 2 quarterback. Yep. They have rolled so far in their first 2 games. But a very interesting matchup coming up next week here as Memphis comes to University Park to play the Mustangs. Larry Jones III, smacked down just shy of the 20-yard line. Preston Weeks, second drive of the game coming up for the sophomore from nearby Rowlett, just east of here. He's the Baylor transfer. Good size at 6'4", 230 for Colby Carthel's Lumberjacks.
Yeah, he's a big, tall, strong quarterback, and he has a fantastic arm. And you always want to continue to develop quarterbacks. You always want to give guys friendly competition in practice. And it's always good to have a quarterback come in, get some minutes, knock some of the rust off, see what he can do.
Jaquarian Turner continues to get the workload, his 22nd carry of the night. Goes for short yardage. Lumberjacks will be ready to go home. I mean, yeah, in other seasons, this would absolutely be frowned upon, playing 3 straight FBS opponents. Obviously here, now this game with SMU was already scheduled before COVID-19 hit. First 2 games versus UTEP and UTSA were put together rather quickly, but that takes a toll. And 2 Division II opponents the next 2 weeks. Welcome for the Jacks. Open up the middle and down just shy of midfield. One of the biggest pass plays we have seen so far tonight for the Lumberjacks. That goes for 26 yards into the hands of Ty Love.
Well, look at Preston Weeks, and you always look at a quarterback from the feet up, and good technique there. Gets his feet settled underneath him and just steps into that throw beautifully for a big completion.
This is Trajan Henderson just past midfield.
I really like to look at Trajan Henderson. I thought he could have probably, to me, gotten the bulk of the carries. You know, Query and Turner, 22 carries at this point. That's only Trey Henderson's 5th carry. You know, 4 carries now, 5 carries for 26 yards. And I think he needs some touches, and it could be developed into something very, very nice with Turner and Henderson in the backfield.
Yeah, Henderson stays in the game. He's listed at about the same size as Jaquarian Turner, but seems to have a better burst. Smacked down for a gain of 1. 3rd and 5 coming as we approach 4 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter.
You talk about these Lumberjacks being on the road. You know, 3 straight weeks, 3 straight games on the road, and I'm sure they are ready to get back to Homer Rice Stadium and play in front of their fans, whoever can come out and do that too. I know when I was at North Texas, we had 7 road games one season. Actually, my freshman year, we had 7 road games. We traveled just as much as anybody in the country. And yes, you're right, David. It does take not only a physical but a mental toll on you.
First down catch made as they'll move the chains. It's Carson Spence's first catch of the year. They hung in their SFA against their first 2 opponents, UTEP, UTSA, only giving up 24 points in both those losses. This one was over fairly fast. 22-0 SMU the lead before the end of the first quarter. Turner back in the game as we approach 3 minutes to go. The schedule favors SMU when you look at American Conference play. We talked about they have Memphis here next week. Cincinnati scheduled to come here Halloween. UCF not on SMU's schedule. So
yeah,
you go back to the preseason poll. When you look at those top 4 teams, SMU doesn't have to go on the road to play the other top teams that are joined by SMU.
Well, you look at it, I think they need to keep their eye on Tulane. I think Tulane is one of these surprise teams that you better take care of business. Obviously, Memphis, they'll get everybody's attention, right? But then you've got Cincinnati 2 weeks later, but in between those games, you got a good Tulane team in New Orleans. So, you know, I think it does set up favorably for them, but they've got some games and some teams they've got to keep their eye on.
The job Willie Fritz has done in New Orleans has been remarkable. 66 on the board in their win at Southern Miss today. And Southern Miss is down. They're already going through a coaching change. Got rid of Jay Hobson after the season opening loss to South Alabama. They have looked good, except for the second half collapse against Navy 1 week ago.
Yeah.
Game they led 24-0. Oh, it was almost intercepted. It's going to be ruled incomplete. Armando Fitz wants that one back, as Henderson couldn't hold on.
I think it surprised him more than anything. This pass had a little heat. This is a little check down here by Preston Weeks, and yeah, looks like Trajan Henderson just couldn't quite get a handle on it. Fitz Jr. almost picks it off.
Preston Ellison with a big hit, setting up 4th and 13. Weeks in trouble, Weeks sacked. And that's the JUCO transfer we talked about. DeVere Levelston, first sack in an SMU uniform. SMU can run up the clock. 50-7 the lead with 1:43 to go. On a performance like this tonight, you put up half 100. How about the Air Force Reserve players of the game? And it goes to the two men out of the backfield who each topped 100 yards on the ground.
Yeah, you know, both these guys do it in their own way. You look at McDaniel, he's certainly the guy that can put one foot in the ground, and he's going downhill, and he's going straight line speed, and he's just kind of the rock of this offense. Just a guy you can always lead on. He's a workhorse, and certainly Bentley is just, again, the only word I can come up with is just electrifying.
Players of the game brought to you by the Air Force Reserve. Matt Dontley with the pitch pass from Gibson.
You know, David, it's not going to be too many times where this offense runs for more yardage than they do passing. They're so good at throwing the football. You know, they're at 255 yards rushing, you know, in this game, and just a little bit under their average coming into tonight's game, and they only just now cracked 172 yards passing for the game.
Dontley running to that left side. Thomas Shellmeyer now in at left guard. Boston College transfer. Helped Highland Park High School nearby to back-to-back state titles, protecting John Stephen Jones at quarterback, Jerry Jones's grandson. It's Gibson showing his wheels. Clock stopped as an SFA player is down. 46 seconds to go. So SMU to go to 3-0 for the first time since the Pony Express days. You know, they've had some success intermittently since the death penalty here. June Jones really resurrected the program, got them to bowls. Chad Morris with a tremendous year here before he went off to Arkansas. I just feel like Sonny Dykes, you never say never, right? But it just feels like this is home to him. Second straight season where it looks like SMU is going to be among the elite in the American Conference. And how fast does Sonny Dykes and his staff turn this program around with their Texas ties? You
know, it's been pretty remarkable. And if you can stay around here, these parts in Texas, and recruit, you're going to get some of the top players, certainly at the collegiate level. And you know, I think they're just doing it the right way. I think they're getting certainly the big guys. As Coach Carthel's now outside, down on the field looking at his player here.
Yeah, the card is out, and we are making sure that we have the identification of the player correct. And that is Trey Ramos down for SFA, the backup safety. And that card came out awfully quick. That's been a physical 3 weeks, as we talked about, for this SFA squad. 3 FBS opponents, UTEP, UTSA, and here SMU.
Yeah, this is the one thing that you don't want to ever have happen. You're 46 seconds away from this game being over. Guys still playing hard, and you kind of want to, at this point in time, just kind of get out of here clean. Everybody healthy, and just kind of shows you the reality of football. Such a violent game.
Well, both these teams, and SMU has done it, of course, the past 5 weeks with the enhanced protocols. 3 COVID-19 tests a week. Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. As we mentioned, 5 weeks now with no positives for SMU. It's been a big reason why they will be the first American Conference team to start 2020 with a 3-0 record. We'll take a timeout as they tend to Trey Ramos on the field. Well, what a shame. It's just wanting to play a couple more plays to end the contest. You see Trey Ramos's teammates come up to give him you see the pat on the arm as Ramos has to be helped off the cart. And with the clock now winding down, that will be the end of the contest. So what a sobering end to this one. A game that was physical, a game controlled by SMU from the start. SFA certainly hung in there in the second half. A highlight reel touchdown by SFA quarterback Trey Self, but all in all, too much offense by this Mustang squad from the outset, scoring touchdowns on their first 3 drives.
Well, we knew what they were going to do coming in. We knew the firepower that they certainly possessed, and you know, could SFA hang around? Could they improve from the previous 2 weeks, the 2 games they played? And This young man right here, he didn't have the kind of numbers that we've come accustomed the first 2 games, but certainly was in full command of his game. And we know what he's capable of doing. And this offense, to me, I thought they were very efficient running the ball. Good outing today.
Well, to your point, Shane Buechele, 141 yards passing, but the 2 players for SMU, Bentley and McDaniel, over 100 yards on the ground. They get 260 on the ground overall, and they roll to a 50-7 win over SFA to go to 3-0. That'll do it from University Park. For Ladera McClain and our entire great JWP crew, this is David Salzman saying so long. Where once again the final score, SMU 50, Stephen F. Austin 7. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.